So, one of the biggest misconceptions about reality is that we are all one human family, that we all have a human spirit, and that we're all essentially the same, but a little different based on our experiences, genetic predispositions, and perhaps the kind of nature that comes about based on your psychology and how that comes together as you grow up. This is very likely not the case. It's one of those oversimplified scientific explanations for something that most people really don't understand on why humans are so psychologically diverse, actually. Another kind of psyop, really, is don't judge a book by its cover. When, if you have the right tools, you very much can. One of the Hermetic axioms is as above, so below. And if you read deeper into this axiom, you will find that there is also as within, so without. And then, of course, if that is true, as without, so within. There is an old science called physiognomy that a lot of mentalists these days are starting to rediscover, where you can truly understand a person just by looking at their face, just by looking at the way they move. And if you're psychically inclined, and I don't mean, the pop culture type of psychic where you can move objects with your head or read people's minds, I mean that you have an ability to grok a large amount of information together, um, and create with that, right? So if you can do that, like myself, for example, like I've been able to understand who someone is subconsciously, and I'm sure so many of you are, especially if you're watching this, you're going to be capable of doing this as well. You just see someone and all right, this is a dark guy. I should stay away from him. You can just tell, you know, eh, or maybe, oh, this guy seems very cool. I think I can probably get to know this person, and you're almost always right. If you've got a weird feeling about someone, you're going to be correct. And the reason that you can do this is because we are not all humans in the spiritual sense. We all have human bodies, yes, but we all come from very different places. Now, the way that the world was often described in the late Copper Age, before the Iron Age, and the fall into greater materialism, where we have lost this ability, is that people would describe others through their auras, through how their way and energy kind of manifested itself into a certain shape, into a certain energy field and whatnot. So you have all of these fantasy terms, and no, they were not invented by Tolkien. It's just it was repopularized by him. But you have elves, which is very old, very folk-like. Thousands of years. Europeans have been talking about elves. There's orcs. There's goblins. There's dwarves. There's all sorts of fantastical creatures. They're not, in fact, creatures. They are natures of souls. Okay? And one of the best depictions to describe what I'm talking about is how the Norse saw the world. They saw this realm, this physical space, as Midgarde, the Middle Earth, where the ultimate equilibrium of God, of the mind of God, coalesces into a central kind of Goldilocks zone of all of the various forces of God, right? And those various forces are the surrounding realms connected by Yggdrasil. And these realms are also coalescing equilibriums that, they're not the central main equilibrium. So that's why, things don't necessarily play out there. And these realms are more spiritual. They're less settled and created because they are not the main equilibrium, right? But each of these realms do exist. So so God has multiple sides to him. It's infinite. I mean, you can't even imagine how far God's polarities go. Um, but to kind of break it down, he's got a good side, he's got a bad side, he's got a more chaotic side, he's got a more orderly side, he's a strong side, he's got a weak side. All of these things, as above, so below, as with us, so with God, just on a much higher level. You have all of these different sides to you. You've got your demons, you've got your angels, you've got the kind of crazy side to you. You've got the, all right, I'm getting shit together. It's time to organize this and get my life going. You've got that side, right? Well, God does too. We are reflections of him, as above, so below, right? And but with God, it takes on a much higher force. So like we live within God, so those forces of God are directly interfacing with us, right? We've got all these different sides of ourselves, and but these different sides of ourselves aren't going to like affect somebody else. Well, I mean, they could if you act on them, but um, they're within your mind. But we are within the mind of God, so these various forces simply exist, and they play out in the mind of God through Midgarde. So, for example, you could there's a realm that exists that is probably very similar to the realm described as heaven. Primarily a good, pleasant, peaceful realm that brings in souls of that nature from Midgard when they die and then reincarnates them back in order to influence Midgard through goodness and light. You have a more warlike good. For example, there might be an equilibrium that is combined as chaotic good, or like a strong, chaotic warrior type good. And this could be described as Valhalla, right? And then you have perhaps another type of more um, orderly, peaceful, graceful type of good place, like Valheim. Um, and these realms exist, and based on the vibration and frequency of your souls, the choices that you make in this realm, you will either go to heaven or you'll go to hell, right? Now, if you want to simplify it, there's heaven and hell, but there's actually hundreds of realms, all varying in type and frequency, or sorry, vibration. Um, Actually, frequency of vibration as well. But anyways, they would be coalescent equilibriums of various polarities that do not, what's the word, that do not conflict with each other. So polarities that do not conflict. So for example, chaos and order don't really conflict with good and bad, right? You can have bad chaotic, or you can have a good chaotic situation, right? You can think one of the best maps for this is actually from D&D, where you have, you know, chaotic neutral, chaotic good, chaotic bad, uh, orderly good, orderly bad, neutral good. And you'll notice I'm not saying evil, and that's because evil is something else. I believe to be more of a self-destructive cancer um, that infects the kind of lower, heavier realms more easily because that would be, more of a weaker side to these universal forces. Now, if you can imagine what I'm talking about, you have Midgarde, our physical realm, and then you have all of these various afterlife realms, right? And before Christianity, many traditions, the Egyptian traditions with the Book of the Dead, um, Norse traditions that have different afterlife realms, right? Even Druidic traditions, shamanic traditions, there was a basic agreement, and there's a lot of proof for this now. I mean, it's all um, proof that can't be measured, so science won't accept it. But you look into this stuff enough, it's pretty clear that reincarnation is happening. And depending on, like I said, your type of being, the decisions that you make in Midgard, and you're going to be influenced. Like if this is your fifth reincarnation and you've been going to heaven this whole time, I mean, it's going to take corruption from an outside force or something intense to happen to shift your vibration to be heavier and more hell-like, right? Just for example. Um, but yes, I mean, before Christianity really kind of just super simplified things and made it binary, there was a lot more diversity in which our souls came from. So, for example, you have like the Valheim realm, and if someone's reincarnating from Valheim often, then the more elf-like they're going to become, the more kind of creative, flowing, natural that they will be. And you have someone um, that's reincarnating from Valhalla quite often. They're going to be like warlike. They're going to enjoy fighting. They're going to have some kind of like righteous anger. They're going to be uh, warrior-like. People from heaven, they're going to be, at ease, happy, helpful, loving. You have someone coming from the hell realms. They're going to be demonic, conniving, manipulative. Okay, and these personalities that manifest in people, the degree to which they are different leans more logical evidence towards the fact that these are coming from reincarnated realms, these different realms of God, where the soul goes and comes back. Otherwise, you know, you talk to parents who have had psychopathic children. They'll tell you they were like this when they were born. There was always something up with this kid. And later, kid becomes an adult, starts manipulating, starts controlling others, making vast amounts of money, perhaps if they get into some easily manipulatable field like sales or trading or something like that, where it's all just kind of bullshitting people, manipulating them, you know, getting the resources, stuff like that, and these parents that may have been of the perhaps Valheim type, and they happen to have a hellborn child. They'll tell you, I mean, it's really from the beginning, there was not much they could do to change it, right? And it takes massive interference to really shift people. If they've been reincarnating in these realms for a long time, they have this essence about them, right? And actually, there are a lot of people that never really choose a realm. They're actual true neutrals, and these are the normie types. This is when, in the past, they would be described as the men, the humans, the human-like people, because they don't have this tinge, right? And these usually are the NPC normie types. They're not going to be that interesting. They're going to be easily tricked by the dark forces. They're going to be also easily inspired by the forces of good, right? It doesn't take a massive intervention to shift their way of being to a certain degree. And right now, our world is falling. It has become more devilish, I would say, at not demonic, uh, devilish, and the difference being that it is a more of an orderly evil realm. It's actually very orderly, very top down, controlled. Secrets are very well kept. You know what I'm talking about. I mean, how long did it take for this Epstein Island stuff to come out? Man. And we're falling into that. And this is another reason why we're less capable of seeing auras as we used to, as seeing the different types of people, where they may have come from, what they truly are. And it's because as we go deeper into the darker, heavier, negative realms, the earth becomes shrouded. We begin to only be able to see the material. There becomes this dark mist of which it's very difficult to project our energies, to do magic, to do this kind of thing, unless you use extremely powerful dark magics that break through, or actually probably, I mean, I'm not a dark magician at this level, but I imagine it probably uses this shroud, to which, as we are more in a realm of darkness, it is dark magic that works, right? And so now there are more and more souls coming from these higher realms focused on Earth to bring back the equilibrium, to bring it closer to the light. But you have to keep in mind that Midgarde is not just Earth, it is the entire universe, the physical plane, right? So it's not one of those cyclical things where Earth shall always maintain an equilibrium. I think the universe as a whole might be that. But heaven could be created on Earth through our efforts to bring people to the light. Just as Valhalla could be created on this Earth. Just as Valheim could be created on this Earth. Just as hell can be created on this Earth. And it could maintain that way for a very long time because there could be, another planet that is in a heavenly equilibrium, and then our planet's in a hell equilibrium, and they balance each other on a larger scale, right? So we're not guaranteed to just, oh, we're going through this dark time, but now we're going to go back to the light time, and we don't actually have to do anything. The cycle will take care of it. No, it won't. It is only through our efforts that we can do this. And the first step, physiognomy. Look it up. Figure out how to read people. For example, if someone has a more wrinkly forehead, they're used to raising their eyebrows more. That indicates that they can be surprised. They have wonder in this world still. If they have crow's feet on their eyes, they laugh. And they have enjoyment in this world, and they can be happier. They're more likely to be in the light of the light realms. If they have very little wrinkles, very little of these laugh lines, They may be from a heavier realm. If they have a lower eyebrow ridge, they may be um, suffering, and the suffering um, could be that their vibration is shifted downwards, perhaps, or they were already part of that. If they have literally nothing, it's a psychopathic person that does not feel, does not have any wonder, is in a very dark and deep realm coming from one. And if you have someone just looks average, you really can't place them. They're probably, of this realm of Midgard, not really part of anything necessarily. Um, they're the NPC normie type, the very controllable type. That I don't know for sure. Might be a newer soul. I don't know exactly how that works, or it could be a meat golem. It could be that there is not necessarily enough souls um, to be sent to this planet for everyone to have a soul. So they could be containers of which those souls of light can animate, or those souls of darkness can animate and manipulate and control, and so on. They're kind of a a weapon or a tool to be used by different forces that are battling for dominance and influence upon the equilibrium of this world.